For our first reading, I thought we would look at Bucha, Ukraine. April 4th has turned out to be a day of the most inhumane discovery, to find that mass graves have been found in Bucha. We have hundreds of civilians dead. People found tortured, raped, hand-tied behind their back and killed execution style. They found cluster weapons and landmines had been used. So you have two sides, one being Ukraine, where the president Zelensky has said, look, this is genocide, this is unacceptable, this is going to make it more difficult to negotiate. He's mortified for his people. Russia and the Russian delegation has said, no, we have no idea what you're talking about. Even on the Russian news, it was saying that they think that maybe the UK or somebody was involved in creating this false story, this fake. And, it is beyond comprehension what is happening and how everything has come down, and to actually see that people are commenting saying, hey, this wasn't done by Russia, this was done by Ukraine themselves. And it was like, oh my God, what is going on in this world? And so I thought, well, let's do a reading and let's have a look at Ukraine. What happened in Bucha? And then let's have a look and see, what did Russia do in Bucha? And we'll see how the story goes down from there. Alrighty. So for Ukraine, in the past, that's really blurry, isn't it? There you go. Sorry, guys. In the past, we have the lovers. Here's Ukraine's relationship with Russia. They knew, they had predicted this long before we saw it coming, or we chose to see it coming, whatever way, that went down. You can see that there is this commonality between them, but there's a huge problem. And the angel is here saying, this is almost destined, or not almost, this is destined to happen. There has to be this upset to change the way things are. In the now, we've got the Three of Swords, some major heartbreak, heartache happening. We've heard of major mass graves in Bucha. This is indicating we're going to hear of at least two other major catastrophes in other towns that are going to be as bad or worse. That's just going to add to the heartache and the pain and the strain. Underneath it, we have the Eight of Pentacles. So here you're looking at truly wanting to do what's best for your fellow man, but they're so in the details that they can't see the big picture, that they're doing their best and they're trying to work on these little things, but the whole is against them. You know what I mean? Like, they have the want, they have the need to do this, but they have a lacking of information and support. I think this just goes to prove that Ukraine did not have anything to do with this. Ukraine was like crushed when they saw what had happened to the people that were left behind. First and foremost, on top of their minds, is the deaths of all their countrymen. This is heartbreak. This is devastation. Oh. We have temperance in the future. Temperance being that, those on the other side, being Putin, Russia, their heels are in the ground. They are not They're not moving from their position. So if Putin's mouth is moving or his puppets, his regime is talking, don't believe what's coming out of their mouths. They're lying. But again, here we have the angel set up to find a balance that will eventually, sooner, I truly believe, rather than later, bring this conflict to some kind of conclusion. But which way, which side is it going to end up on is going to be really dependent on what help, what knowledge, what information, and how Ukraine uses it. It depends on how Putin is going to deal with this situation, because there's two sides to it. Ukraine needs to and has to come, to the table with Putin. That's the end, and there has to, this will come to some conclusion. Let's look at Russia. Look at that. Crying over spilled milk, wanting their Ukraine, feeling like, we own Ukraine. This is a problem. They've been planning this for the longest time. Putin is just, in his mind, he has no idea how the West thinks or feels. He just knows that he's the chosen one, and before he goes away, and oh my God, do you see this character? And you see there's a really light white light, like a light around him. That gave me a really uneasy feeling, because I was thinking Putin when I saw the light around him, and I'm just, his time. Trying to steal, trying to take the land. And if they can't take the land, destroy. Underneath it, death, transformation. Leave it broken, leave it harmed, kill, take, demolish. That's what's underneath it. It's like one way or the other, I'm going to be the winner. That's what Putin's thinking. On top of it is the Chariot. What's happening now and how we deal with it is going to decide which way Putin is going to go. He has and we talked about this in our April reading, and we talked about it in our week that was coming up, talking about this very thing. He's the devil. He has no care for human life. And really and truly how we react and will tell us which way this is going to go. Ooh, Putin, your enemies are out for you. Putin is going to be struggling to hold on. He truly is. There's no coming back from this. There's no being able to stay in power and have anything to do with any of us, any NATO. I mean, that would, mind blown. There's no way that we can deal with him. There's no way. He's fighting for his life, and his enemies are out to get him. He's only one man, and there's 6 pending harms coming his way. For our last reading, we're going to look into Bill C11. In the comments, somebody had asked about Russell Brand had recently done a video on Canada's Bill C11, which is basically the government getting to have regulatory responsibility for Canadians' use of internet. The CRTC right now, I mean, I remember growing up with it, because any Canadian shows you'd be watching, at the end of it, it would say, if you have any issues with the programming or any language or anything like that, you can contact the CRTC. So, and they were like responsible for things, for making sure that there was a certain amount of Canadian content and that kind of a thing. So now the government has said, look, let's give responsibility for regulating what's happening on the internet for Canada. And it's giving full power without any kind of, like, they have the full ability to say, no, you can't watch that in Canada. They could look at people who are small players like myself and say, you know what, you've got to, you know, you can't have this content, or you got to follow these rules because they're Canadian rules. It really limits, what you can and cannot see and do on the internet when you come to, as a Canadian. And it gives huge expansion of the government's role and responsibility for that purpose. So I'm almost nervous, to be honest with you, to do this reading, because when I did talks and readings about the truckers, I had a lot of pushback, and I don't understand it, because I don't understand how I could say, look, the truckers may be wrong in what they're doing, but two things can be true at the same time. The truckers could be wrong in how they are approaching it, but we don't want to give up our rights. And here the C11 is exactly the type of thing we don't want. We don't want the government having full regulation over everything in our lives. I mean, here in Canada, we have the CBC News, which is the Canadian Broadcast Corporation. They already, you know, they own a certain amount of the airtime, and the government owns a certain amount of CBC News. So the news that gives you the news is partially owned by the government and trying to get more ownership. So, you know, as a Canadian, you kind of gotta appreciate that I'm not trying to, I don't want to be beaten up over this. I really don't. But like the farmer said, maybe there's good in everything and there's bad in everything. So let's just look at the past, present, and future of Bill C11. As far as I can tell, to this point, it has not moved. It has not been approved. So it's not part of our regulations or rules, but it's there. They tried to go for full the government was looking to get full oversight, and I think because the bill C11 has not pushed through at this point, that hopefully people are reaching out and contacting their representation and saying, hello, no, we don't want, or something similar to it, because that got stopped. But obviously they're not just going to say, oh, well, that's it. They will push forward with another bill, probably with similar language, hopefully with some changes. I don't want anybody causing me any ruckus. I'm not looking to start a fight. I'm just here saying, yes, we need to protect our rights. And even if you live in a place that's as great as Canada, you still have to have those checks and balances to make sure we keep everybody, you know, on the right side. The moon. So they are indeed trying to pass something. This is something that they thought they could try to pass without too many people taking notice. This has been something that's been coming for a long time. This is not something that's just like, you know, new. This is something they've been working on for quite a while. They've been trying to keep it quiet, try to pass it without people taking notice. The bill not getting passed. People seeing that there's something not quite right, the language, the amount of regulatory responsibility that would be given to the government was too much. So it has been stopped. they're going to try to hide a similar bill to come through. They don't want, they're going to change the language. It's going to be a bit more complicated. Do you see all these cards? Hide, hide, hide. See, look, everything can have good and bad in it. There are people that are in the want, media, people that are losing money off us, are looking for ways to correct the situation. They're going to be trying to do this behind our backs. They're going to continue with it. Ooh, but the light is shined. We are aware of it. We have to remain aware of it. We have to make sure that we can only stay happy, free when we ensure that all of our rights and privileges remain our rights and privileges. So, you know, for me, that means a few people are going to get mad at me for doing readings about things, and if I don't, you know, anyway, it's really, really important for us to be vigilant, to be aware of the dark side of things, the things that go unseen, unsaid, and the things that are trying to be pushed without our knowledge. We have knowledge about this now. Now it's time to be aware. Reach out to your government member and say, hold on, we don't want C11, and God willing, more people are going to get a hold of this and say, you know, this is not, we don't want to be regulated out of being able to experience the internet like everybody else. We have to hold on to our rights and privileges. The whole world is going through this, and so is Canada. It's just maybe not as seen. Please don't send me any negative comments about this. Be kind. Be kind. Rewind. Remember that? Getting the video tapes from the from Blockbuster and you know, getting charged 25 cents or 50 cents if you didn't rewind the tape and stuff. Oh, to go back to simpler times. So, as always, I have our Unity candle lit for each and every one of us. And until the next time we chat, my dear friends, cheerio. Take care.